Hello, my name is Harriton Watco. Welcome to the second portion of the show. With us, we have Severo Brillantes. He represents the Manila Science High School. But first and most of all, other than his profession being attorney Severo Brillantes, he has made it his personal advocacy to actually challenge straight to the Supreme Court the objective, the implementation guidelines, etc., of K-12. Attorney, how can we explain, ano itong ginagawa, ito sinasabi ko kanina pa, executive legislation. So, bawal ba ang presidente at kabinete niya gumawa ng batas? Bawal po, di ba?
Yes, because we have the principle of separation of powers.
And all of these laws should emanate from the House, not even the Senate, lower house first,
yes,
and then going up to the Senate. Then, correct me if I'm wrong.
And then finally approved by the President.
Oo, ganun dapat ang sistema, but the power of the President, he has the veto power to stop it pag talaga ayaw niya yung batas. Okay. Ang nangyari dito, ni-railroad ang K-12. Ginawa nilang batas.
Yes.
Nakalusot, naging batas. Pero yung batas ginawa nila, sinasabi mo, mali rin kasi yung curriculum. Maybe you can explain that part.
First of all, when the K-12 basic education curriculum, which also required that high school students will have to attend 2 additional years of senior high school, was implemented to DepEd Order number 31, series of 2012, in April 2012. At this point in time, the law that turned out was still being deliberated. There was yet no law that will authorize the adoption of a K-12 program.
But the deliberation...
But it was already implemented.
Binilisan. Minadali.
Yes.
It minadali. As usual, minadali na naman.
2012, there was yet no law, but the Department of Education already issued an order to implement the K-12 basic education program.
Pero wala pa sa legislative branch yun, wala pa sa Kongreso yun.
Yes.
Inumpisahan na. Okay.
And it is basic that a administrative rule or regulation must be issued on the authority of law or on the basis of a legislative act authorizing it. There was no law yet authorizing the K-12 basic education curriculum, yet I do not know what the haste for the Department of Education to already implement a program which has no legal backing yet.
Well, I can only see one real purpose of haste. He only has 1 year to go, and in the last 5 years have accomplished nothing. So, minamadali para may masabi may nagawa siya. But going back to the specific, the K-12, when they implemented and railroaded this law, K-12, and implemented it this year, ang problema, part of that law that they created, you're saying, requires the stakeholders, the academe, all involved to work out the curriculum. Kumbaga, parang implementing guidelines.
Yes.
Hindi natapos yun.
I mentioned earlier that the K-12 basic education curriculum was implemented through a Department of Education order without legal authority. There was no law yet. The law was enacted in 2013, but the defect was not cured. Why? Because the law itself mandates that the K-12 basic education curriculum will be formulated, will be designed upon consultation with teachers, parents, and students' organizations.
Meron bang consultation nangyari?
No consultation was...
So nagsisinungaling si Brother Armin Luistro?
There was none because...
I heard him on ANC and he was smiling and grinning.
I have downloaded the curriculum guide of math and science, and all the names there are from the Department of Education. No Parents Teachers Association, no National Teachers Organization. In fact, this is also a violation of the Constitution. The Constitution recognizes that the natural and primary right of parents to the rearing of their children.
Oh, to get involved, to be part, yes.
And if they have that right, they have the right to be consulted on the matter, and there is no consultation. So that is why we are also saying that it is not only illegal in violation of the law itself, which was supposed to implement it, but unconstitutional.
I don't understand where they get the gal to just do continuously, to rush issues. And like to date, we have that problem with the BBL. Again, here's a perfect example again of pagmamadali. Itong mga issues, let's go straight and tackle those issues when it comes to working out the curriculum. If they were consulted, the stakeholders, the academe, the teachers, the parents, even the students to a certain degree, would you have been would you have been agreeable to the K-12 program? Alam mo, the spirit of the law, sinasabi ni Brother Armin Luistro, pinagyayabang niya sa lahat. Ang buong mundo nasa 12 years na of grade school, di ba? Tayo lang ang 10 years.
Okay.
Ako naman, I have other issues involved. Number
Yes.
one, quality of teachers, which have been leaving because of the quality of pay that is still uncompetitive. They go to China and elsewhere. And two, even lack of classrooms, especially in the public level.
Okay.
On the private side, it's a totally different story. There's grade 7, there's kindergarten. So I don't know if that would qualify for K-12, 12 years. But in this specific case, ang nangyayari, the spirit of the law is to be competitive. But what you're saying is based on the implementing guidelines of the law of which they created without consultation, there is no advantage. Ang nangyari, pinahaba lang ng 2 taon. Is that correct?
Yes. No. If you read the explanatory note, when you propose a bill, you have to explain, no? And in the explanatory note, and even in the DepEd orders of the Department of Education, it is very clear that the rationale of the law is to decongest the basic education curriculum, which is allegedly congested.
So in other words,
And to lengthen the period, so that to give more time
so it's
for
correct
mastery.
then, yung 4 years, ginawa 6 years to decongest.
Decongest.
Never mind for Manila Science High because you're actually an exception to the case because of the advanced state of the enrollees and
And
students.
I will, insofar as Manila Science is concerned, that rationale does not apply to Manila Science because the curriculum of Manila Science on purpose is
advanced.
congested.
Congested.
On purpose, it's congested. It has math and science subjects, heavier in scope, and more advanced. And so there is no reasonable necessity to decongest it and to extend the years.
But
this is violative. There is
But
what we call substantive due process.
But outside Manila Science, for the rest of the grade schools, would you be acceptable? Would you agree that they decongest it, the 4 years?
First of all, personally,
There's nothing wrong with the
there is
curriculum.
I have not, DepEd has not shown us any study that will
So hanggang ngayon sila-sila rin.
that will prove that in fact the failure to master the competencies within a 4-year period is because it is congested. We ourselves, we finish high school within 4 years.
No issues, no problem.
No issues,
and
no
can compete in
problems.
this modern world as well.
Yes, and so I also want to ask and question whether there is a factual basis to the allegation that it is congested. We have to consider other factors why our children cannot perhaps fail.
So we can't figure out what drives Armin Luistro to have to introduce this, when to begin with there was no complaint. There was
Yes.
nothing broken. And he's trying to fix something
So
that
in
is
other
not
words,
broken.
why fix, no?
Something
there
that's
is
not broken.
a saying that why fix something that is not broken.
Parang ganun nga nangyari.
Yes.
So, but your complaint is not exclusive for Manila Science High School, although there's an urgency, as
Yes.
you explained, because
Yes.
of the entrance college exam.
Yes.
Assuming the TRO comes.
Yes.
Because if it doesn't come, that's moot in academic as well.
Yes.
Talagang they have 2 extra years. But for the rest of the grade school, should they be discongested? You're also not sure why there's a reason or why there's action to decongest, is what you're saying.
Yes, and of course we started here by feeling aggrieved for our children. Later on, we realized that we share a common cause with other children, students of the Philippines. Because as I have mentioned, the basic education curriculum was implemented without legal authority. So if it was implemented without legal authority, it is void wherever you are.
Will the Supreme Court
And,
need to hear the argument and hear your prayer when they find out to begin with it's unconstitutional? Inunahan nila yung proseso.
Yes.
Dapat i-void na ng Supreme Court, is what you're saying.
Ultimately, when the Supreme Court will have to render a decision on our petition, it is our hope that the Supreme Court will render a decision that will annul and set aside the basic education curriculum and the 2 years of senior high school until such time that the Department of Education will comply with the requirement of the law itself, that there should be consultation with teachers, parents, and students' organizations. But we have another argument also why we question.
Which is?
It is, as a general rule,
Well-
law should be implemented prospectively and not retroactively. At that time, the law in place was 4 years of high school. And the Education Act recognizes the right of a student to continue until graduation. So in other words, the right to finish high school within 4 years is already a vested right. In effect, by extending
So kung umpisa mo
by
ito,
ex-
dapat first year high school lang pwede,
by
magsi 6 years.
by extending it to 6 years, it in effect divested them of a right and imposed
To
an
finish.
unnecessary burden of going to 2 additional years of senior high school. In effect, implementing the law retroactively, which is unconstitutional. And if you look at
Ang
the
galing,
very
anak.
intent of the law, the intent of the law is to adopt an entire education program that will commence with 1 year of kindergarten, 6 years of elementary, 6 years of high school, in that sequence. That is
In that sequence.
that is the exact wording of the law, in that sequence. So it cannot start in the middle or in the end.
And add 2 years.
It has to start with kindergarten. If
With
ever
kinder, not high school.
the law has to be implemented only prospectively to start with those who entered kindergarten in 2013 when the law was implemented. So that
Ang
is
ganda.
another reason why we are saying that the law is illegal and unconstitutional. In effect, it applies the law retroactively and it violates the very intent of the law to adopt an entire education program.
Attorney Brillantes, we're going to have to take another break. So there you are. You have 2 main complaints that shows and proves the unconstitutionality. Again, I guess we have to take a back seat and wait for the Supreme Court once again to try and stop the Student Council presidency from pushing and pushing and pushing. Sa bagay, no? Can you really blame him? Nagmamadali na eh. 1 year to go and he steps down. Ladies and gentlemen, stay with us. When we come back, we'll now discuss the program, the new program, whether it should even be implemented, assuming that the spirit of that specific law, of which they created on their own, unconstitutionality, have any real merit. We'll be right back.